All right, so I'm here with Danny Dignan from Imaginate and a developer for the Dragon libraries, and just kind of get to know him and also to get to know his first Dragon release, which is Tactile Drums Volume 1, and just the mindset to get into that and all that. So first, just Danny, tell me about your history in creating music. How'd you get started in music?
Yeah, so really started just listening to a bunch of records when I was a kid. My parents are huge music lovers, and they put me onto the greats like Genesis, Yes.
Prog music.
Prog,
yeah,
yes.
Baby.
Yeah, it runs in my veins, man.
Are you a King Crimson fan?
You know, I'm selective with them.
Okay,
but
I know they get a little weird. They get a little weird.
They do. They do. I can appreciate the weird for sure, but there's something about the polish of like Close to the Edge.
Oh
from
yeah,
Yes.
sure, yeah.
And then kind of like the prog pop vibe of Invisible Touch. That's my favorite Genesis album. Maybe it's sacrilege to say that, but I love that album so much. Yeah, a lot of stuff, a lot of country, as a matter of fact. Grew up on a lot of metal, found hip hop on my own, electronic music and whatnot. So it's just a wide variety of sounds. But I got into music on the performance level when I was 10 years old. I picked up trumpet, and I played trumpet for the next 10 years in concert bands, marching band, jazz, symphonic, all that stuff. But it was never really enough. I wanted to be in a rock band or like make music, you know, like kind of contemporary music or whatever. And I think it was my sophomore year of high school when I found Logic. And then I just started playing around with loops and whatnot. And then that just grew from putting loops together to designing sounds from a sine wave. When I got into music production, I got a little MIDI keyboard, like one of those M Audio Oxygen keyboards. Mm-hmm. And that was just to kind of like get my way around putting in simple notes and whatnot. But like I was saying, getting into production and going from loops to sine wave is the same thing with music and composition. It went from single notes, especially for like dubstep and like rhythm kind of like dubstep stuff, which is what I was making when I first started. That became, I want to learn how to play piano and be able to do kind of complex jazz chords and harmonies. And if you're familiar with my current music, you'll hear a lot of that like jazz fusion, prog influence.
Cool.
Yeah, so I accidentally picked up piano in the process. And then I remember I had a mentor in 2017, and he said, you should put guitar in your music. So then I picked up electric guitar, and all the guitar parts of my music too are also played by me. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, multi-instrumentalist.
I see a guitar in the background that looks like it's got a lot of extra strings. Is that an 8-string?
It sure is. Yeah, it's my Jackson 8-string. I think it's a Dinky. I love that thing so much, man. It's a lot of fun.
You do gent with that?
Yes, I do. Nice. Unabashedly. Yeah. In my free time, I am absolutely ripping off Meshuggah as much as I can.
Well, they're like the godfathers of gent, Meshuggah.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know you had such an eclectic mix of styles. So, but how did you get into making your own sounds? And like, what was the evolution of that process?
Yeah. Certainly it was kind of the same thing to save a buck, really. I mean, I was buying a ton of sample packs and preset packs. I love sample packs and preset packs myself. But for me, it was just, okay, I'm at that point where I have a very specific kind of vision in my mind, and it might be easier and sort of maybe there's more kudos for me to have personally if I can just learn how to make these on my own, right? Mm-hmm. And then, of course, that becomes, well, I get to make some of these sounds that people like and put my own spin on them, and maybe people like them themselves, and there's some utility, something like that. But yeah, it was really just a matter of, there is a certain limitation, and I can't expect other creators to fit that limitation because I'm one person. Mm-hmm. So it's up to me to learn how to do that. And then, of course, the process is you accidentally learn how to make your own sound, really. Yeah. Your own signature sound.
And the cool thing about that is, you just said it, it's your own signature sound, and that's what makes you stand out from everybody else. I think that's the key. So did you end up doing this for like sample library companies, or did you just start making your own stuff, or how did that play out?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because my focus was always on like making music and composition and whatnot. But when I went to music school in 2017, they were saying to me, wow, like, okay, you make cool music and all that, but like your sounds, like you have a signature sound and maybe you don't really realize that. So you should kind of go down that rabbit hole. And the sound design instructor, who I believe you're familiar with, Chris Gear, OhmLab.
Yeah.
He kind of took me under his wing, and he said, yeah, you should try making some sample packs and some synth presets on your own, and just for the sake of trying it out and experimenting. And just after school, yeah, I think it was 2018 at this time, I took this was my first sample pack. I took all of the food items and Tupperware and things like that in my kitchen,
Yeah.
put them in my studio, and I just spent the whole day just recording absolutely everything.
Right.
And I made, yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I made this sample pack of all these Foley sounds and whatnot. And, you know, the crunches and the metallic tones are totally in a lot of what I do. So it just was like a natural kind of experience. But I figured, you know, I should try maybe putting this into a nicely put together package for people to use, because I had some friends that were asking me like, hey, can you make some sample packs for us or whatever. So I put together this pack and I sent it over to Loopmasters guys, and I said, hey, I've got this library of sounds, what do you guys think? And they're like, yeah, this is really cool, but maybe you could remix it a little bit more, put some effects on things, maybe some presets. And so I did that, and they loved it. And from there, I've just been making sample packs pretty much from that process of taking Foley and then turning them into synth sounds, drums, all that stuff.
I get it, yeah. How do we bring this into what you created? Because what you created here, first of all, you created Imaginate. So when did you say, like, this is my company and I'm going to do this?
Yeah, well, it's so funny. It started when I was DJing in San Francisco. I needed, like, a stage name, moniker, and all that. Okay, that one sounds kind of cool. It's a little abstract, and the mind and all that's kind of a psychology. It's kind of a part of my brand, you could say, I guess. But so it started off that way. But since it's so ambiguous, it kind of led to this idea of, well, I can sort of flip, these sounds, and the music that I'm making is around like what's in here, basically. And I just kind of went with it, man. It wasn't like I guess a firm flagpole on the ground sort of moment. It was just like, that'll work, and we'll see what happens.
Totally get it. My first company was Zapzorn, and in fact, there's Zapzorn Composer Tools, which is a contact library. And it was when I got my first email, like back in the AOL days. I was really into Frank Zappa and John Zorn. And so just like, cool. Zapzorn, that sounds good.
That's great.
And it became my corporation, basically. That up until I moved to Nashville, I was like, that's when I created GGM. But Imaginate's a really cool name, and I like your logo. It looks really cool. And
thank you, man.
So out of all the stuff that you've been doing, all this history of learning, how to sample things and realizing you're getting your own sound, now you've created these cool different drum kits. So tell me about this. Tell me about the library. Like what was your inspiration? And I see fire, metal, tech, water, wood. If you could explain that a little bit, how that actually works. That'd be great.
Yeah, sure. So tactile drums, tactile being just felt, like the texture. And I think with drums, we're all familiar with like the typical kick, snare, hat kind of deal. And my philosophy is, how can I take that contemporary thought, the contemporary utility, right, of a certain kind of drum sound, but then have a unique texture associated to it. And it's always just about the actual material being used. And of course, there's an aesthetic attached with all of these as well. So fire, the articulated core and energized patches or kits are something that are across all of the different materials. And they're all built to function differently in an arrangement. So like articulated kits are more like percussive sound, or like little clicks and boops and beeps and things like that you can put in to just kind of fill out a track. And then core is like your core elements, not too heavily processed. And then energized is like, let's take these sounds and just distort them, throw a bunch of effects, things like that. Great for like the industrial guys or, cinematic stuff.
Right.
But cinematic is definitely a big part of what I do as well, too. So kind of across the board. But yeah, so fire, just whatever aesthetic. In my mind, fire is just like burnt to a crisp, kind of industrial energy, things like that. And then metal, industrial again, metallic, tech is like futuristic.
Sure.
Water, a little bit more fluid, and then wood is a little bit more dry. So just, like knock on a piece of wood, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
More hollow.
So when I'm looking at the articulated kit, I'm just growing up chromatically. Cool sounds. And then we get to the core. Now you're saying this is just kind of the raw sounds. So there's more sounds in core, correct? Because it's like all the sounds. One thing in production is you have to be a good finger drummer if you're going to survive. And a lot of people are not. So now let's listen to the energized version of this. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, right.
That's amazing. What a great sound. That's awesome.
Cool, man. Yeah.
I love that. That's such a fearsome sound. Nice. All right, let's take a look at metal here.
I've been using that particular kick across a bunch of records right now.
It's so good. It's so good. Now, it's just fair to point out that you did put some effects on this, so if people want a drier sound, they can obviously take the effects off. Definitely got a good Foley vibe, but the reality is, if you're used to doing this kind of stuff, can really, you really could pick and choose kits. So what's nice about this is it's got so many different sounds that you can kind of like, hey, I'm going to use this as the kick, and I'm going to use this as the snare. Totally works. And that's only a few of the keys that are sampled here. Let's take a look in that chord, get more dry. One of the things that I noticed is like there's some cool ways to kind of do kind of like a, like using it to kind of like as a percussive element.
Yeah.
All right, let's listen to Energize. Just gives a nice like custom sound to it. So tech is kind of more inspired by electronics, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I like the upper range where it's just one sample, but you can actually use it as a percussive thing.
Yeah, a little click.
Sometimes that actually is a nice thing to layer over the top. All right, so our core sounds. Very cool. Now let's get with the Energize. Oh, that's a good one. Very cool. So the water you're saying is more of a flow. Explain that a little bit.
Yeah, so like these other sounds, tech, metal, and fire, there's an element of like energy and ephemeral, things like that. Just more zippy and fast. For this one, I wanted to have this mindset of a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more flowing kind of nature. I mean, there's still going to be like shorter hi-hat sounds and whatnot, but not so like punchy, I suppose.
Right, not so aggressive.
Yeah.
There's your water.
Yes.
How did you do that one? Give us the sampling secret.
Yeah. Well, it's okay. So it's funny. Actually, I wanted to say with the tech one, I sampled an Optos machine at the optometrist. Like the startup sound was like this, whirring kind of thing, which is really cool. The water one is a combination of like a water bottle and then like the water in the water bottle shifting around. Just shifting in water, things like that. There's a couple water drops as well, classic.
Yeah, that's awesome. These are handcrafted sounds with like ingenuity at every little step, which makes it really cool. Just use that as your bass percussion, then you could, bring the rest of it in. So these are more the dry. I love that. And then we hype them up. Ooh, this is a good one. That's a great sound. I love this. Okay, so now we got wood. Again, more of...
Yeah, a little bit dustier.
Yeah, definitely feel that. That's cool too, because you know.
Nice.
So it's fair to point out that like the articulate is one type of sound. The core are different sounds too. So
yeah,
because I was just playing the same thing, and these are different sounds. I like this. Ooh, those are good sounds. And then energize, we got. And I think what's cool is like if you listen to the demo on the page, you can hear it really flushed out in a track and how this really works. And I think the cool thing about this is when you're dealing with drums, like you kind of want something unique. There's a lot of stuff out there. This gives it a nice little flair of things that are, you know, they're atypical. And I think with that, people go like, oh, you know, like everybody's heard every 808 on the planet, like ad nauseum. But like this is like, okay, we could use this to do something that sounds unique, you know? And I think that's the great thing about you being a sound designer. And really samplers in general are sound designers, because if you've sat enough where you sit and record things for hours and, you know, sit and edit it and then map it to a key, you start to get really good at doing it and trying to figure out how you can morph things into each other and make these cool new sounds and whatever. So this has a lot of that element in it, which is really nice because now I can dial this up. In fact, on my Solstice Blue demo, I used your drums.
Oh, really?
I did. I used your drums cool. Because I just needed something to move it along. And because Solstice Blue is so sound designy, pad kind of ethereal, out there, otherworldly, it needed something to ground it. And I'm like, I used your drums to make that demo. So it is a very usable plugin.
Nice. I'm honored.
No, it's cool. Yeah, I mean, if you go to the website and there's a little track in there, and your drums are there, I just found that yours were perfect for making it. So, those of you who are looking for something that's unique, like this is something that's unique. This is going to get you to stand out. And Danny did a great job on this, and you should get this library. Any last thoughts on this, or anything else you want to just kind of sign off on?
I think you pretty much covered it, man. These are 5 different kits, basically, that are easy to use on their own for whatever you're working on. You can put them together. The demo track that I made combines all the kits across the board. So really, there's so much usability, and that was the point. And that's one of the things that I really love about Dragon 2 is that it's just immediately usable. And I find that one of the things, especially with sample packs and like maybe drum libraries and drum kits too, is a little, I want to reduce the amount of editing and time spent between loading something and plugging it into your session. And Dragon does that great. And that's what I attempted to do here with this patch, this library.
Yeah, success. You did it.
Cool, man.
And well, that's the whole point of Dragon, I think, is just to literally drag in things and start messing with them. It was to remove the barriers. I mean, the other day, I was in an unnamed sampler. It was actually Logic multi-sampler, so I'm going to name it anyway. But I literally, like, I wanted to drag things in, and I'm like, I've used this thing for 30 years, and I can't get it to do what I want to do. That's the whole point of Dragon, just to get it to, like, let's go. You know, off to the races. So
that's right. That's right.
I'm glad that you're on the platform, and we're looking forward to future releases of things that you're going to do for Dragon libraries. And you're a talented sound designer. I'm really happy to have you on board. And so if you're watching this video, you should definitely get this library. It's worth every penny, and you will enjoy it. So, Danny, thanks for the time today. I appreciate you being able to explain it. Loved hearing your history, loved hearing how you started. Reminded me a lot of myself when I was getting started. So
right on, man. Yeah. Thanks for having me, George, and thanks for all the kind words. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun putting this library together. Thanks again.
All right, thanks. Take care.
Take care.